Hi, Michael, Trustee Frank. Sorry to be starting a little bit late. I'm calling to order this meeting of the Fredonia Village Board, Thursday, April 2nd, 2026. Would everyone please stand to say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk Johnson, could you please take the roll?
President Lim.
Here.
Trustee Eipert. Trustee Frank.
Here.
Trustee Abeglin.
Here.
Trustee Searing.
Here.
Trustee Van Room.
Here. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Please note that public comments are limited to 5 minutes per person. Moving on. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, approving the minutes of the March 5th and March 19th, 2026 Village Board of Trustees meeting and approving the general fund water and sewer invoices.
May I say something
Yes.
very quickly? Because Trustee Frank is participating remotely, all of our votes will need to be roll call this evening.
That's true. All right. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, that's, I will call the vote, a roll call vote.
Trustee Frank.
Aye.
Trustee Abeglin.
Aye.
President Lenz.
Aye.
Trustee Searing.
Aye.
Trustee Van Room.
Aye.
Thank you. Items for action and or discussion. First item, discussion and possible action on a resolution 2026-02, a preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise special assessment police powers pursuant to Wisconsin statute 66.0703 for improvements including the installation of sidewalks on Washington Avenue. Administrator Jenkins.
Sure. So this is in regarding the Washington Avenue reconstruction project. This board probably is not too familiar with this. The last time that you guys specially assessed for sidewalk was 2021. Is that right, Michelle? Yeah. And we considered it for Highland. So when we did Highland Drive, we were going to add in sidewalk near PWSB. But before we got to that point, PWSB volunteered to just install their own sidewalk. And so we didn't have to go through that special assessment process. So I just paid that picture that it's been about 5 years since we've last done this. And it's the newest, it's a new thing for Michelle and I since we came on board too. So we read our ordinances and walk through the process with our engineer, Isaac Fruchtman with Strand, and came up with what you kind of see here before you in your request for board consideration. So this is kind of a 2-meeting process with an initial reaction from you all on what you want this to look like, and then a public hearing and final action a little while later. So for some background, per our ordinances, sidewalk are required to be installed on one side of each road. Washington Ave has that one side of sidewalk, but there's some areas that are obviously torn up and beat up and are due for replacement, or they're going to be tore up because we're installing laterals into private properties and crossing those sidewalks as well. So in discussing that with Strand and with Director Paulus, we were trying to weigh what would be a fair assessment, a way to tackle this. So we decided that anything that is getting removed because of us, because we're installing the laterals, we're going to take those out of the equation. So you'll see that on the map provided by Isaac, that those are not even considered to be a cost onto the residents. And then everything else that we would specially assess for, we would take on 50% of that cost as well. This is because most of it is generally in the right-of-way. Remember, sidewalk and right-of-way is kind of a weird area where we both own it. The village owns it in a sense, and then so does the property owner. Thus, 50% split seems reasonable. I'll also touch that when you look back at the 2021 minutes from when the special assessment came through, there was talk about a policy, and maybe Trustee Beglin knows better than I do, a policy that alluded to a 50% split. We could not find that policy in our records, but again, this would be following the best practice that the village has done in the past. So that's my explanation of why it's here. That $5,816 is reflective of what that total special assessment would be. And then Treasurer Upson broke down what that cost would be per address. You see that on page 20 of your packet here. They could either choose to pay it all at once, or they could choose to break it out over the next 5 years. So that's my synopsis, and I'll kick it over to our clerk just to talk about what this process looks like.
So if the board decides that this is something that they would like to take on, it is the first step tonight here is approving the preliminary resolution, which orders Strand to create the report that they have provided a draft for this evening, public notice, and then a public hearing. And because of the way the publication schedule and notification schedule worked out, we would request that public hearing be set for May 7th. So that's what the timeline looks like.
When you say property owners, do you mean just the property owners along where the sidewalks being installed?
Yeah, just the property owners affected. Yeah.
So my opinion would be, since this seems to be a village ordinance, that we just, if the village wants to have sidewalks on one side of the street, then the village can cover the cost of installing those sidewalks, and then it'll be shared, obviously, among all the tax users who are all equally sharing those sidewalks as well. And I think we already have something anyway where property owners are required to clear the sidewalks in front of their residents, so you already got residents having to do something potentially that they weren't doing in the past when you added a sidewalk. So my opinion would be that the village just eats that money, and if they want sidewalks there, then put the sidewalks in and don't make the property owners there pay more.
I agree too. So are we adding any sidewalk or just replacing?
In this case, we'd just be replacing.
And
Connecticut, sorry, go.
we call it discount for stuff that we're breaking, that's already figured into these numbers. So, I see for, Crenshaw, that's to properly.
Yeah. The long corner lot. Yeah.
So is that just the Washington Avenue side, or is that the walking frontage as well?
I don't know if the map's in here. Did we put the map in the packet?
In the report, the sketches in the report of the portion that they're covering.
Has there been any communication with those members as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Director Paulus has reached out to each of the property owners and kind of went through what this process would look like.
Do you know, did you get that feedback on what they thought?
Well, nobody said absolutely not. They kind of figured that this is just the way it is. Their opportunity would be at that next meeting when we do a public hearing. They would come and then say they could fight their special assessment, right? They could say, well, I don't think it's fair. I only want to pay this amount of money. That's up to them.
Other discussion?
Actually, agree with the trustees as well. It's not fair to those that don't have a sidewalk. It's a burden, it's an extra burden.
And scattered out amongst all of the people of the village should winds up being a very small amount of money.
Well, and someday potentially all of the village will have a sidewalk on
Right.
one side or the other. And all of the village residents are benefiting from this sidewalk. Because
Absolutely.
even if I don't live up on the street, I might take my dogs and my family for a walk there, and I'm gonna use the sidewalk.
So unless I can set up a fence on my portion of the sidewalk, keep people out my sidewalk.
Yeah, did you? Certainly.
So I live on Wilson Street and this was, new sidewalks were put on our street. And you may have a riot on your hands because each resident was, assessed to pay for their sidewalk.
Right.
And so if you give different treatment to other residents than what was done on Washington Street, I don't know, if that's unfair. So I guess keep that in mind.
Was this same,
That's an excellent point. That is precedent was set. Yes.
There's no sidewalk on my side, but across the street, some of them were assessed several $1,000s.
Right.
And I would agree with that, just because it is, if we've already set the precedents.
I'm
Jack,
sorry.
I guess?
I'm just gonna say that if you've already done it previously for other road repair, yes, it would be, there would be some residents upset by the fact that we are
Hold on a
not.
second, Jessica. We can't hear you very well. Rick is trying to adjust the sound. Well, keep talking, I guess, so they can.
Okay, sorry. I've got my headset on too, so, no, I'm just saying that there is a precedence that we've already, established with previous road repair that we've had our residents pay for part of the new sidewalks. So I'm in agreement with Ann.
Can you,
She agreed that there was a precedent set back in 2021 when you went through this process. And to
Okay.
answer trustee Vanbrugh, this was the process that they went through back then.
I would say too, though, not if it's been a repeated process like that way, there'd be an argument, but if it was a one-time thing, I don't know if there's any recent examples with that. But just because it was maybe handled a different way last time doesn't mean we can't reset the precedent.
but if this is an ordinance already in the village and we have precedents, yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's not an ordinance that it mandates you to do this. It just
Okay.
gives you the ability to specially assess through this process.
Do we have information on whether this was done prior to the 2021 work on Wilson?
And did you look any further than that? And
I'm not sure I would be confident in giving a specific example, but I believe that there was another one a few years earlier that I reviewed.
like
for
2019 or
an
something, yeah.
Example, I can pull it, but
Yeah.
it's not ringing a bell. Sorry.
Think.
There are 4 residents still paying off that 2021 5-year assessment.
And having set that precedent, I do think it would be, I think it would be worthwhile to explore further back to see if this has been done in the past, to see if this is a regular thing that's done with the village, or if what was done with Wilson was an exception. Just so that we have a consistency for the residents over time.
I remember the year that we did it, but I was on board when. And there was quite a bit of conversation. There's about, obviously, a little over half of us that wanted to recoup the money, but. And then the other remainder had the same opinion as much like the 3 of us. So the 50% was more of a compromise. Because in the past, it had been 100% for the residents. And we had the same, very similar discussion. Everybody uses sidewalks. And so, but only half the village has sidewalks. So, it just it didn't seem fair at the time to us. So the 50% was kind of a compromise. Now, that being said, that was a very different board. I'm the only one here that was there. We have a vast different makeup. So.
And I think before you say setting a precedent, let's think about the fact that this was a board, an elected body that made a decision that they thought was best for the constituents at the time. And you now have a new elected body that is thinking differently what's best for the
This
constituents.
is true. That's absolutely true.
With that, it doesn't mean that we can't try to make a change moving forward where we just stop trying to recoup this 50% because we think it would be more beneficial because it does serve all the residents. But if we say setting a precedence, we could say the same, well, one board raised sewer rates 20% and then the next board says, no, we're not gonna raise them at all. Well, are we gonna say the last board set of precedents that they need to be raised 20% every 2 years? No, so I wouldn't lean on the precedence thing just because a board made a decision to do that in the past.
I do understand Ann's comment. If I was one of those people, I'd probably agree with her too. But we again, that was a very different board. And we have a chance to change things.
So my understanding from what you said is that in the past, prior to the time that you were on the board and they were talking about Wilson Street, the homeowner was charged 100% for their sidewalks. And the board 5 years ago compromised and took on half the load for the village and half the load to the homeowner.
Yeah.
Moving in the direction of absorbing the entire cost is fine with me. I think I lean in that direction myself. Taking the cost of the village and not passing it on to the homeowner who didn't plan for having their road torn up this week, you know? I do understand where Ann's coming from, and I certainly would not fault any of the members of the village who are still paying for that Wilson Street build to show up at the public comment and give us help, but
We can tell you the name of some of them board members.
there we go. Let's have their names on hand just in case. But I personally, I have absolutely no problem with allowing the village to absorb the cost because it does spread it out amongst everybody, which just makes it easier for everybody. More discussion? Arguments? Throwing things at me?
So I would just ask that you make that a motion, so we have that kind of solidified, and then we'll obviously change our communication with those residents, and they'll probably be relieved. But then more future thinking, I think that because there was a mention of a policy from way back when, it's probably time, and after the election, when we have new board seated, maybe we should just look at that and adopt whatever that sidewalk policy is going to be. And that way we have a standard that we can kind of fall back on. Because even us within the office, we were kind of relying on just past meetings to see what they had done, plus our ordinance to compile that together. So this is great feedback for us, and then we know our instructions moving forward.
All right, so does anybody want to make a motion to, how would this be phrased? A motion to allow the village to cover the costs of sidewalk replacement?
Matt, Administrator Jenkins, may I make a suggestion?
Sure.
I think if we could please make a motion to approve resolution 2026-02 as written, and then vote on whether or not you approve of it. Okay, so a vote,
Oh, so,
does that make sense?
so motion to vote on this and then vote it down.
Well, motion to approve it,
Right,
right,
to
and
approve
then
it.
vote it down.
All right, so a motion to approve. Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2026-02, preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise special assessment police powers pursuant to Wisconsin statute 66.0703 for improvements including the installation of sidewalks on Washington Avenue?
So an I vote means that you want to approve this preliminary resolution and move forward with the special assessment process. A nay vote means you do not wish to move forward.
So do I have a motion to approve?
Is the motioner required to vote a certain way?
No.
That raises the check.
Yeah, that is-
So the motion is to fix the sidewalk, and the second vote would be what to do with.
Now, the motion is to fix the sidewalk and charge the residents.
I confused
And
it.
then if you don't agree with that, you can vote it down, and if the motion fails, they don't get assessed.
Very suggested. Vote again, you vote to bring a motion to the table, bring a resolution to the table. So even if you vote in favor of bringing the resolution to the table, then there'll be a vote on the resolution. Correct.
So the motions aren't the vote, the motions are just to get us to be able to vote.
Second, get this on table.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah, that's Robert rules.
That
Yeah.
is, and that makes perfect.
And then and then what, Mike, can you help us?
Then, so you'll
Yeah.
have first and a second to bring the resolution to the table, then your chair will call for a vote. Sounds like it's gonna be a negative vote, most people are gonna vote nay.
And then it
By-
goes down, and then the village pays the assessment for the sidewalks. That all making sense?
Yeah.
So, again, do I have a motion? I'm not gonna repeat the whole thing. Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2026-02, et cetera?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, a motion and second. Any last minute discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Oh, that's right. Roll call vote. Please take the roll call vote.
Trustee Frank,
Aye.
trustee Abedlin,
Nay.
President Lenz,
Nay.
trustee Searing,
Nay.
trustee Van Roon.
Nay.
The action fails, the resolution fails.
Okay.
On to the next item. The next item is no longer necessary because that was to order a public hearing for that levy. So we don't need to deal with that. Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action on the developer's agreement with Hillcrest Builders. This topic may necessitate a closed session discussion. Will necessitate a closed session discussion.
And to make our clerk happy, we are going into closed session because we are still in negotiations with that developer.
Yes. All right, so for going into closed session, we need to take a roll call vote.
We need a
Do we have do we have a motion to go into closed session?
Motion adjourned to closed session.
Second, all those in favor, oh, this has to be roll call vote. Sorry.
trustee Frank,
Aye.
trustee Abeglin,
Aye.
president Lenz,
Aye.
trustee Searing,
Aye.
trustee Van Roon.
Aye.
Thank
Quick
you.
question with the Zoom meeting. Trustee Frank needs to stay in.
And our guest, Michael, wherever you are, sorry, but I'm gonna have to, make you leave.
Call myself.
Bye.
All right. The next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action on the developer's agreement with Hillcrest Builders. We have no action planned at this time. Next item on the agenda, do we have any correspondence?
The Mid-Moraine Municipal Association Legislative Committee meeting is Wednesday, April 8th at 7 PM in Grafton, and you have the agendas before you.
All right, thank you. Items for future consideration.
I think we just want to remind everybody of the schedule for the next couple of meetings here. So our next regular village board meeting is April 16th. That is again, the current board that is sitting now. And then by our ordinances, we have to have the reorganizational meeting at a certain day. The way that it lines up this year is that it actually kicks to May. So that first Thursday in May, May 7th, I believe, we'll have our reorganizational meeting at 7. That's where we swear in officers, do appointments and all that stuff. And then after that is done at 7:30, we'll hold our regular meeting. So I just want everybody to have that kind of in their calendars.
So we're not coming in early on May 7th.
No, I think it's easier just to do the organizational meeting at 7 and then we'll have a regular meeting at 7:30. Unless you guys want to come earlier, you
No,
can.
there's a scheduling conflict.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's right.
You have the.
Yes, I have a scheduling copy.
The town BOR schedule.
All right. Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second?
Second.
We need to do a roll call vote.
Trustee Frank,
Aye.
trustee Abeglin,
Aye.
president Lenz,
Aye.
trustee Searing,
Aye.
trustee Van Roon.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great Easter.
Thank you.